Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. You're watching Robin Craig Live, and I'm Robin Craig broadcasting from Houston, Texas, my hometown. I've been in the chat room. For you guys who watch the show, you know that I am in the chat room about 30 minutes in advance so that we can catch up. And we were talking about the weather. It has been in the 80s here. It was so hot on Sunday. I was just like sweating. It was so hot. And now we're hearing that in Arizona they got some rain. The temperature's dropping. It's down 20 degrees in just the last short while in Kansas. And it's really cold in, let's see, Oklahoma. So I don't know what's happening with the weather. I think Mother Nature's a little confused. She understands that fall is here, but she's not quite sure what to do with herself. So we're waiting to see what's going to happen. I hope you guys have got a snack. I am having Benitos again. Now you'll remember before when I held up the Benitos, it was like a big gigantic bag. They now make the individual bags, and I'm thrilled about that because I used to tell you guys the big bags had about 4 servings. There were so many in it. So now you can do one little bag, and tonight I'm going to be nibbling on the black bean plain Benitos. They are so good. And guess what else? I am giving away an entire case of Benitos. Shannon Bell in Indiana won a case before. She's down to 2 bags. So we're going to see if Shannon wins again. Might be Nyla. Nyla's vying for them as well. And Julia, I know she could enjoy eating some too. So we'll see who wins. But I'm going to be nibbling on this. And I hope you have something to drink. Tonight, isn't this the prettiest drink? It's the cherry pomegranate Crystal Light. And it's just so good. It's just really, really good. Tonight's topic is one of great interest to a lot of people. It is remarrying after becoming widowed. So I've got 2 great guests, Robin Moore and Carol Brody Fleet, and I'm going to talk to them and tell you about them in just a moment. But first, it's time for the Critter Update. Now, you guys will remember all summer long, I've been saying, it's so quiet around here. The only activity I've had is birds that are enjoying playing in the sprinklers when I water my grass, and the occasional outside shower that I would take with a little tiny frog who looked so happy because he thought it was raining. It wasn't, it was the shower. But that's been it. Well, a few days ago, I was on the phone and I heard a sound. It sounded like something slowly rolling over, like in the middle of a great nap. I got up, I walked over to where the sound was. I was still on the phone, and all of a sudden I heard this ee, ee, ee. I've never heard any sound. I've heard movement, but no squeaking sound. So that freaked me out. The caller said, Robin, it sounds like you have a rat in your attic. And I say rat singular because I hate to think that there would be more than one. So I went out. I had no sardines. I think I've shared with you guys that a can of sardines where you poke the holes in the top emits this yucky smell that they love, but it keeps the rodents from being able to eat the food. So I went out with my can of cat food and I thought, I'm sure I'm going to catch something. Well, I went out there the next day. The cat food can was gone and the door to the cage was raised. It didn't go down. So I thought that does kind of sound like rats because they weren't heavy enough to make the door go down. So I thought, okay, this is getting more serious. The next night, I got another can of cat food. A friend of mine came over and we took some string and wrapped it through the loop in the cat food can and tied it down. The next day I went out and they obviously came back for the can because it was dragged like halfway out into the cage, but the door was still up. I thought, what is up with this? These guys are getting more and more clever. Well, that night I heard an unbelievable sound. It was like really big, and it made me think that maybe it would be another raccoon because it was just running all over the place. So I got my sticks of bamboo. I had these 3 really big sticks of bamboo. They're just for decoration purposes, but I would take those and I would bang on the ceiling and bark. And you may ask me why I do that, and I think it's because I used to have a dog, and I never had this problem. My dog died, unfortunately, but I never had this problem, so I think just the barking and a dog's presence scared them away. So I bang on the ceiling with my bamboo, and I bark. And then I thought, maybe one dog's not good enough. I need to make it sound like a big pack of them. So I bark in a lot of different pitches, fast and slow, high and low. And I went and I put more food in the cage, and you're not going to believe what was in it the next day. Are you ready for this? Okay, get ready for this. I'm going to show you evidence of what was in the cage. Check this out. Is this like the biggest thing you've ever seen? Look how big it is. It's huge. Is that just like too much? I know you guys are freaking out. Okay, now the one thing that I have to say about this is I didn't catch it. I'm kidding with you. I'm actually kidding with you. I went to the Renaissance Festival on Sunday, and they had all these little fun tails. I think they're just synthetic, but all the girls were wearing them on the back of their jeans, and I was wearing jeans that day, and my friend said, you know what, you're critter girl, you need to have a big tail. So I wanted to share this with you, and I couldn't resist sort of, I guess, stretching my story. I really did have a big sound in the attic, and I did not catch it, but anyhow, hopefully you got a little chuckle out of that. The Renaissance Festival was really fun. It's people dressed in medieval costumes, and they walk around going, thank you, my lord. And what did they say? Enjoy thy day. It was just really cute to think that they used to dress like that. Those dresses looked like they weighed 30 or 40 pounds. It was amazing, but really fun to enjoy a different time period out in the woods. I was hot. Yes, I was sweating, but nonetheless, it was great. Okay, now scooting right along. I know you guys, I see you in the chat room, and I know you guys are laughing. I had Stanley Bronstein on the show a few weeks ago, and we gave away his book. He's got 7 books, but we gave away his book, Find Your Path by Walking Your Path, and I'm delighted to announce that Ellen Greenway won it. She got it, and she Facebooked me and said that she loved it, and it was really inspirational, and I feel the same way. I've been reading all of Stanley's books, and they've just been so inspirational, and you'll remember if you saw the show that Stanley has lost 127 pounds by walking. And he's just really inspirational and has a lot of great information. And also, don't forget that November the 13th through the 17th, that's a Sunday through Thursday, Stanley and I are teaming up to do a retreat at Miraval Resort and Spa, which is located in Tucson, Arizona. And you know, we all need a break. We all need to have a chance to rejuvenate. And you'll have spa treatments. We'll be walking in the mornings, meditative walking with the beautiful mountains in the backdrop on these wonderful paths in the desert. I'm so looking forward to that. It sounds like a really wonderful spiritual experience. And so anyway, we're going to be doing that really, really soon. And I hope that you can join us. So all you have to do to find out more information is to go to my website, which is Robin, R-O-B-I-N, Craig, C-R-A-I-G, direct, direct.com, and click on the banner at the top, and that will take you over to Stanley's site where you'll find out all the information. And both of us are available. You can contact us on our websites. You can contact either of us on Facebook. We would love to have you join us. We've got a really small group, and it's just going to be a lot of relaxation. Stanley's given away 3 of his books. You'll have some great reading materials, wonderful spa treatments from head to toe, and wonderful sessions of positive information on how to create your best life, overcoming adversity, taking care of your body, just a host of topics. So I hope you'll join us for that. Okay, now tonight we are talking. Oh, and there's Sandy. Hi, Sandy. I'm so glad you could join us. Oh, and I see we have a Casey Wester. You're new to the show. I'm thrilled that you're here, and I'm thrilled that you're in the chat room because we have got a really hot topic tonight, and we're talking about being widowed and remarrying. Do you want to remarry? If you do, how do you go about it? What's different about it? So we've got Robin Moore and Carol Brody Fleet that will be sharing that. But I wanted to tell you about an article. I don't know if you saw this, but it just really was appalling to me, and it just fit with our topic tonight. The title of it is, Mexico May Ask Couples to Estimate How Long Their Marriage Will Last. Can you imagine that? You're going to walk down the aisle, and you're thinking, what do I give us, 6 months, a year? It just doesn't make sense to me. But it reads, Mexico City lawmakers are trying to make it easy for couples to divorce by offering 2-year trial marriages. It offers newlyweds an easy exit if things don't work out quite as they were expecting. If passed, the new commitment could mean for 2 years Ivy wed, with the option for renewal. Can you imagine saying that to the guy or the girl that you love to the point that you want to marry? It says the bill also calls for couples to sign a prenuptial agreement that would specify child custody in case of a divorce and include an estimate of how long the marriage will last. Can you imagine what happened to till death do us part? You're literally going into marriage thinking, how long do you think we will survive? And we're going to have a prenuptial agreement. We're going to decide child custody. It's like you're planning the whole divorce issue before you even walk down the aisle. It's so shocking to me. Asking a prospective bride to calculate the date of her eventual divorce just really makes no sense to me. But Carlos Torres, spokesman for legislator Lisbeth Rosas, one of the bill sponsors, said this should not be the case. People can specify terms of up to 99 years or till death do us part if they think the marriage or their lives are going to last that long. Isn't that crazy to even say, I think we're going to last 99 years? It's quite clear we don't have a clue how long we're going to last, but you go into it for the long haul. The Catholic leaders naturally don't see it that way. Asking couples to put a sell-by date on wedding vows is totally absurd, said Reverend Hugo Valdemar, spokesman for the Catholic Archdiocese for the Capital Region. The church, perhaps understandably, still stands by the idea of marriage as a lifelong commitment. Mexico City records show that there were 40 divorces to every 100 marriages. So it's quite clear that there's a problem, and it's also quite clear that they're seeking a resolution. But I mean, when you have a divorce rate that's almost 50%, that's not good. But to give people the option to marry and to get out of it easily in 2 years truly makes no sense. What are you guys thinking about that? What's happening in the chat room? Okay, so Julia says that thank goodness the Catholic Church would never back that up. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, we're talking about marrying, but I hope that if any of you guys decide to remarry again, I hope that you go into it for the long haul, because this makes no sense to me. But we're going to be talking to Robin Moore, and you guys know her as Super Fresh Widow. I love her to pieces. It was a delight to see her in San Diego at Camp Widow in August. And she's happily remarried, and we're going to get her on the phone to see what she has to share with us. And Shannon also says it's horrid. It should be till death do us part. Nyla says marriage is for life. We're all on the same page here. Hello?
Hi.
Hello, is this Miss Robin Moore? How are you?
Hang on, I gotta get my mute. There we go.
Okay, good. How are you this evening?
How are you?
I'm doing great. I am doing so great. Did you tune into the show? Did you hear me reading about this issue in Mexico?
I did.
What do you think?
My.
What's up with that?
I don't know. I mean, maybe they don't like live together there first or something. Maybe there's some cultural stuff that we don't understand, but it doesn't seem like a great idea to me.
I didn't think it did either. So, Robin, we were talking a little bit earlier today, and you were married for 9.5 years, and y'all were together for 5 years before that. So virtually 14.5 years you were with your husband, and he died from kidney cancer, and you were left as a single mom with a 2.5-year-old daughter. So I can only imagine how horrid that must have been. And you were only 39 years old. So I thought it was interesting that you somehow felt innately that you would remarry. Where do you think that came from?
Yeah, I had this peculiar faith that I described as a religious belief because it was so ingrained in me, and that I would remarry, even when I had absolutely no clue how I would do it or how I would even go on a date. I mean, the idea of kissing a man kind of freaked me out. most, we had a conversation, and we didn't really talk about death at all as he got sicker and sicker. But at the very beginning, we sort of drank a bottle of wine and talked about, things as they might turn out. And one thing he said was, "I want you to remarry. I want you to be happy again. I don't want you to live your life and grieving for me. I want you to be happy again."
And I think
he was very, very jubilant in it, very clear about it.
I have to say, Robin, that is the most wonderful gift, because I have a friend whose husband is still living, and he tells her all the time, if I die, I don't ever want you to be with anybody again.
I've heard people say things like that, and I can't understand it, but I did feel that Kevin saying that to me was a really huge gift, and as much as there were a lot of gaps between us that built over the time that he was sick, and as little as we did talk about the possibility of him dying later on, I really took a lot of comfort from that statement, and I think it made it much easier for me to.
Yes. I can't, because it's hard to start dating anyway. You still feel married for a long time, and it's hard to detach from that and to not feel guilty, or it seems like you want to deny your own happiness in a way because your spouse is gone, and it's just a lot to work through. But it's a beautiful gift that your husband Kevin did say, "I want you to be happy. Move forward and don't sit around grieving for me." That's so great. So, how long did you wait before you started to date?
I think I put my match ad up around 15 months out. I went on my first dinner date at 18 months with the guy who had become my first boyfriend. But basically, my timing was depending on a girlfriend of mine from grief support group was really interested in dating, and she was telling me about it all the time, and she kind of was really encouraging me a lot, and I basically just couldn't stop. Like, I couldn't withhold any longer from my friend Ellen nagging me. But I didn't have any idea that it would result in anything. I just put an ad up and sort of started window shopping. I wasn't very serious about it.
So how did you decide to go online? Because that's a big thing for a lot of us. When most of us got married, we didn't have the internet, and we didn't have the opportunity to date online. So that's like a new element that is now in the picture. How did you decide whether just to go to events and meet people versus online?
Well, I was stuck at home with a little kid a lot. I couldn't really do too many things. I really couldn't get out. It wasn't easy for me to get out to meet and greet type of things. I mean, I could find ways to make time to date, but I couldn't see spending a huge amount of time outside the house, getting to the coffee date. And, it just seems like the way things are done now, and it's what my peers were doing. But the other thing was that I didn't want my friends and family to know I was looking. So I didn't want to tell people, by the way, I'm single and I'm looking. I didn't want to try to fix me up.
Robin, was that because you were afraid of being judged, or you didn't want to hear their comments, or what made you not want to tell them?
I just wanted to do it in private. I just thought it was private. And I mean, I did think I would be judged. I was caring for Kevin's mother at the time, and she had dementia and stuff, so I was probably a little bit worried about how she'd react, but I think mainly I just kind of felt it wasn't really anybody's business.
Okay, I've seen in the chat room that Sandy said she had looked into eHarmony, but she just hadn't had the courage to actually connect. And it really does take some courage. I see she also says that loneliness sucks, and we all say that. We're not loners. We were happy being married, but it just went away. So trying to come out from under that is definitely challenging. So what gave you the courage to say, okay, you call it window shopping, which is adorable. You're watching all these 5 movies.
I really was like putting men in my shopping cart on Match.com. You can sort of like them and save them, but it only lets you save 99. So, I figured when I filled up my shopping cart, it was time to kind of start actually interacting with some of them. I put the ad up, I didn't really have the courage to talk to anyone um, until I did. I mean, I got courage from doing it a bit.
Well, it is kind of scary to do it, and then it's also very awkward because somehow you kind of feel like you're going back to, age 16, where you're a little bit
Absolutely.
nervous.
I never was any good at any of that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I never was good at dating when I was younger either. So, um, it was it was very peculiar, but it was a process of self-discovery, and I, um, I edited my match ad pretty much every couple of days. I would sort of learn, oh, men are looking for this, or I'm not really like that. I discovered a bunch of strengths. Um, and I learned about the guys who were in my, age group and how they talked. Um, it was fun, but it was definitely an extremely gradual process. I mean, I was not ready to do anything when I started. I think if a guy had winked at me, I would have, collapsed in a heap back at my computer at home. It was terrifying.
Okay. All right. So you go online and you start to venture out a little bit, and then you go out and you have a date. Was it like freaky, or was it like, hey, that wasn't so bad?
Well, the first dates I had were coffee dates. Um, and I think I was even a little conscious of um, thinking guys that I wasn't super interested in first.
That's a good theory. That's a good tip right there. When you,
Yeah, it was sort of like,
I love that.
Rehearsals,
I love that. And that's really a smart thing to do, because if something doesn't go well, or if you feel really awkward in it, it doesn't matter because you didn't really think that guy was going to be the one anyhow.
Right.
So that's a good tip. If you're going online dating, start off with the guys that you don't care so much about. And then once you get...
I'm teaching you how to make the commitments, that initial commitment, smaller and smaller, so you can ramp it up.
Okay.
But, I went out on coffee dates, and when you're sitting across the table from someone, I think the first guy I had coffee with, I was like, oh my God, I'm having coffee with a guy. It was fairly unbelievable.
Wow.
But, you learn something about yourself each time, and sometimes I liked them more than they liked me. Sometimes they'd like me more than I liked them. And each encounter taught me a little bit more about what I was looking for and what I was like, and it was really slow.
That's good. That's good. Okay. I'm noticing that Shannon says that she has set standards and she's sticking to them. Did you set standards, Robin?
I mean, I had, at a certain point, I started to develop a list of what I was looking for. I mean, I definitely had standards. I wouldn't, but I learned about them as I went. I mean, when I started, I thought, I'm a very intellectual person, so when I started, I thought, well, maybe I don't have to be a snob about whether they have a college degree. And as I would have back and forth with these guys, I'd realize, no. He actually really has to be, maybe I'm not going to be such a stickler about college degree, but he absolutely needs to read real books.
Okay. All right. So you did have some standards.
To find out where the line really was for me in practice. Right?
Okay. So you had some standards, but it sounds like you were a little flexible.
I was flexible, but I became less and less flexible as time went on.
Okay, so that's interesting. You became less flexible as time went on. And what do you attribute that to?
Well, I would meet somebody and find out that, that something that I thought I wouldn't like didn't bother me in particular, like whether they had a lot of money or something like that. And then I went in saying I don't really care what their politics are, but then I had dinner with somebody who it was very civil and very nice, but I could tell that I was just going to disagree with him so much about anything else. And I didn't know that about myself at that time. My friends will tell you I should have known it, but I didn't know it.
Okay,
I had to learn it by talking to somebody.
how hard was it to date and have a small child, a young child?
Impossible. The way that I did it was I had a sort of a self-care regime that was pretty minimal, which was that I would go out to my support group every Thursday night, and I had a teenage babysitter um, come in every Thursday night, and we had a real regular routine. And when I started dating, I had her come in a second night every week. And then when I really was dating, I didn't want to go to support group anymore, so I had 2 free nights a week. But she came, pretty much every Thursday and Sunday for months.
So that's interesting
and I
too.
just made a habit of it. I just made a habit of having child care that wasn't me.
And that's interesting that you substituted support group for dating.
Yeah, it was.
That's
I was listening to my heart.
Yes, and you know what? That's so important. That's what we have to do. Because we do get intense signals that tell us I'm ready for this, I'm sick of that, it's time to move forward in a different way. And when we listen to them, we come out a lot better. So it sounds like you did. Now, how did you meet your current husband?
Mike is somebody that I had known for 25 years. His best friend and my best friend used to be an item. And like I said, I've known him for a long time, and he appeared through this mutual friend, and we said that we would get together and sort of swap humorous dating stories.
Okay.
Which we did, and then we got together privately. We had a dinner where I thought we were just going to swap more dating stories, and it turned into this very heated dinner where we both sort of stared at our food a lot.
Wow.
He was seeing somebody, and he kept it very appropriate, but we were talking about what we were looking for, and we both realized we're looking for somebody like you. I'm looking for someone like you. And he was like, I'm looking for somebody like you.
That's so great. That is so great. And so how long did you date before you actually married?
I dated, from September. I dated for 5 months before I got together with Mike. I would say within another few months of dating Mike, we pretty much were committed to getting married. We got married about a year after we started dating.
Okay. All right. And what is different for you? How long have you been married now?
2 years.
What is different for you this time around in your marriage, if anything?
Oh, God, everything's different. I'm such a different person from who I was when I was 24 years old, when I met my first husband. The main differences are I've actually spent a lot of time being critical of how I was in my first marriage. I was very happy, but I felt I made way too many compromises. And with Mike, I feel like I'm more secure. I have a successful marriage under my belt. And I'm better at picking which fights are worth fighting. I wouldn't say that I'm less concerned about the small stuff or more aware of mortality. Those things affect my whole life. But I feel like I'm coming from a stronger place. I'm more mature. I'm more secure. And in a way, there's a bit more give and take. We're also much more different people. Kevin and I were really, really similar. We liked the same kinds of movies and music and art, and we could talk for years about everything. And Mike and I have a huge amount in common, but it's more about our outlook.
Yes.
We don't like to watch the same movies. We don't listen to the same music necessarily. So we're sort of both making compromises back and forth on that kind of stuff. But it's not as easy as that part is not as easy. But
do you think it's easier to be married now than it was before?
For me in particular?
Yes. I wonder, I mean, you know, with your daughter being a little bit older, with you being more mature and more experienced and learning more about yourself, it just seems like being married again could maybe be easier because of that.
Yeah, but for the first, 12 years of my relationship with Kevin, we didn't have kids at all. And it's easier to live without kids.
Yeah,
At least for me, my life got a lot more complicated when I became a mom.
sure.
It became better. Um, I think it's really, I don't know if I could make a comparison. It's just too different.
Okay. All right. And so, and the fact that it is different, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, you know, but for people, I know that there are people watching who are struggling with, do I ever want to really remarry? Would I really go there again? Or am I okay where I am now? And so we're just trying to shed some light so that maybe it will help some people figure out what works for them. And of course, I always say that you just kind of have to start dating when you decide I'm just lonely and I'm not a loner and I don't want to be alone for the rest of my life. You don't know really where it's going. You just know that you got to put yourself out there. And then once you do, if somebody great comes along, well, then you just kind of know what to do next, you know. But it's
Yeah.
still challenging. I've heard people say, I will never remarry. As a matter of fact, I know a girl who is still married. She's been married for 35 years. They seem to have had a nice marriage all the way through. And she says, I will never remarry if anything happens to my husband. And I think, how do you make that decision when he's still living? You don't even know how you're going to feel.
Yeah, I think most of us are pretty bad psychics.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, and I generally, if anybody says never or always, I generally, put a big asterisk next to that comment to revisit it in a couple of years. I mean, it doesn't mean, it's comforting her now to say that, but I don't know why, and I certainly be shocked if she sticks to it. I mean, some people do decide they don't want to be partnered again. Um, that's fine, but I think a lot of people um, don't take the baby steps that they might really be ready for, and don't then learn what they want.
Well, and you said something that I thought was very poignant in our phone call this afternoon, which you said if people would just take the little baby steps and don't really look at marriage as necessarily being the destination, but to just put yourself out there and to look for a dinner date first. Just take me to dinner. Just provide some nice conversation. And then if something happens beyond that, then that's a gift. And if it doesn't, you had a nice dinner and a nice evening.
Right.
That's not too scary.
Almost all the guys I dated were divorced, and they all described the same sort of fear and trepidation as they went on their first dates, and they were sort of shell-shocked and kind of dumb at the first one, so they were glad it wasn't somebody that they were really crazy about. Or, I mean, it's very intimidating, and you need to warm yourself up for it, and, nobody can say when you're ready
Yes.
to start that, but the baby step could be something as, tiny as buying a perfume, although, expensive, but.
But that's great, and that's important. One of the first things that I did, I just went out and bought lingerie, and it was just for me. It was just for me because it was the same thing as you buying perfume, just feeling feminine. Like you don't want to lose your femininity and you don't want to lose your womanhood, and that's all part of it. I don't think you have to say, well, I don't have a husband anymore, so who cares about the lingerie? I'll just wear my lawn mowing suit to bed at night. I mean, it's like I still think you need to feel good as a female. And of course, I mean, we don't want to exclude widowers. Widowers are in the same boat. I mean, they can go out and buy some cologne and a new shirt too. But when you do reach a point where you're thinking, I've cried until I can't cry anymore. I am sick of being alone. I hate not having an escort to events. The holidays are really so difficult. I wish someone would just drive me somewhere again. All the things that you think of, if you're going to have that again, then you've got to venture out there. But it's a far cry from dating to getting married. And you made me laugh too because you said you dated your fair share of frogs.
Oh, yeah. I think we all do.
Yeah, well, and you can't help it because I mean they're out there, and you think it is difficult to find someone that really just fits well with you in all aspects. And that's certainly what you need to shoot for if you're going to spend the rest of your life with somebody. But I think it's okay if you maybe don't have such high expectations when you go out. You're thinking a little bit of fun, a nice evening, whether it's a cup of coffee or whether it's dinner or whatever it is. If you just start small and you think, I'm just going to go out and have fun. And my basic rule of thumb is if I go out and it's fun, I will do it again. If it's not fun, I will not do it again.
Right. Or I'll do it differently.
Yes,
I'll
yes,
read the ad more carefully this time.
yes. And it's almost like everything. You almost just have to say, I'm going to start somewhere and then I will tweak it as I go. I think it's very interesting that you continued to alter your profile that you put out based on what your friends would say or things that you would figure out when you were dating. I absolutely love that.
Yeah, I mean, I had to. I had to say like this. Why do you like me? You know, what's good about me? They say, well, you're funny. Oh, okay, so then I have to make a joke in the ad. Now I have to, put an actual joke in there. Um, you're fun to talk to. Okay, so put, discussions, long discussions late at night with red wine. And, I studied other people's ads. I studied what the men were saying. I studied what the women were saying. I studied. I mean, I spent a lot of time farting around online, really.
Yes. And now that's the drawback. And that was something, I tried it as well. And I thought, we're all on our computers so much. And if you do online dating, you're like glued to it. And, one thing that can be a little bit confusing, one guy once said that he thought online dating was sort of like the kid in the candy store. And that was what I felt like as well. It's like you go out and you have a great guy and then you're thinking, what if there's a greater guy? And then it's like you're always looking for something that's probably not even existing, and then you pass up somebody else that was really great because you're looking too far ahead.
And I think a lot of people are ridiculously picky. I think there's all kinds of ways that people set up to fail um, with dating and with, picking who they're going to sort of make a little more commitment to. But there's other people who know a lot more about that than I do, writing and speaking about that kind of thing.
Yes.
But, if I hadn't done the online dating, then the men in my real life, like Michael, who, had been married the whole time that I knew him, he got divorced 2 years. He got divorced around the time that Kevin died. I wouldn't have even considered him. I mean, he wasn't on my radar. And putting that energy out there and thinking about what I was looking for and thinking about what makes me special and what are guys looking for and, all that kind of stuff, it put me in the right frame of mind to listen when he showed up.
And you know what else I liked? You told me that being online and dating again allowed you to really be who you really are.
Very much.
I love that.
Very much, because when I was younger, I didn't think that being intelligent was necessarily an asset as far as men were concerned, and being outspoken and being sarcastic and stuff like that. Those were all sort of qualities that I was kind of told you should sort of cover up a little bit. But Match.com has a checkbox for like, do you like boldness, assertiveness? Do you like brainiacs? Do you like sarcasm? And I could pretty much tell if a guy didn't check those that he would not be able to stand me. Hopefully I eliminated all the guys who would just totally hate me.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But and I find that interesting too, because a lot of people go online and they portray themselves as someone that they wish they were, and they really aren't. And in your case, you were able to have the freedom to be who you really are, and then find somebody to bring into that really fits with that.
Right. I mean, everybody likes walks on the beach and sunsets and a nice glass of wine in the evening. That doesn't tell me anything about who you really are.
And it makes me laugh that you say that, because almost every guy profile says, I enjoy walking on the beach holding hands. I know. I would just crack up and I would think to myself, when's the last time you did that? You know what I'm saying?
Oh, they don't like rollerblading?
Yes.
Do they really rollerblade?
I mean, they all say stuff like, I enjoy staying home and watching a movie or dressing up and going out for a night on the town. That's such a
Yeah.
cliche, a night on the town. It was just so boring. And I'm thinking at the end of the day, most of us enjoy all of those things, but that doesn't really tell you anything. I mean, it's hard to think you would go out with someone and he would say, "Well, I hate going out to eat and I hate going to the movies." I mean, oh, you know what I mean? It's like across the board. But I
Every
think
time I see a puppy, I want to punch them. And, I mean, what are you going to say?
I know it's all goofy, but I think it's more important to talk about what you do and what your lifestyle is, and something that's a little bit more realistic than walking down the beach holding hands, because that's kind of a rare opportunity for most people. And that's something that I think everybody can enjoy if you're with somebody that you like. But the whole dating game is strange. But the fact that you have been able to find love again, I think is so beautiful. And you seem so happy in that. But at the same time, you haven't lost your widowhood. And I think that's beautiful too, because that's a part of who we are, and
Yeah.
that's not going to change.
Mike says Mike's example is that it's like combat experience. Even after you're not a soldier anymore, the experience of having fought in a war, is still a big part, in my case, of shaping who I am now.
Yes,
And,
yes, yes.
it was a big experience, and it was traumatic, and it was, it coped how, it informed how I adjusted. And, um, I don't identify myself as a widow, but the experience of being widowed is part of me now. I don't know if it always will be, but um, it's certainly, an important part of my daily life still. Um, and as long as it's not keeping me from my husband and my daughter in my life, I feel comfortable, being a veteran.
Absolutely. I think it's so great. And I'm going to call Carol Brody Fleet next, but tell everybody real quickly about Widowed Village on Facebook.
Okay. Well, widowedvillage.org is a site that grew out of the stuff I was doing on Facebook a couple years ago. Um, right after widow became a legitimate relationship status that you could pick on Facebook. And I did sort of informal peer support connections on there for a good long time, but I realized Facebook was really limiting. So I worked with Michelle Neff Hernandez at Soaring Spirits to create an online community off of Facebook, and it's called widowedvillage.org. We're just at 1,200 members right now, and
That's
it's
great.
very active. We have chat, blogs, forums. It's really lively and interesting. We have a lot of men there, great participation by guys, and all ages, and it's a really wonderful, wonderful community of people.
It really is, Robin, and you do such a great job with that. And I know that Hyla Millender helps, and I know I've seen so many people listed as being in the chat room, so everybody can talk to Robin and find out all this great information at Widowed Village on Facebook. And I promise you'll enjoy it. Well, Robin, honey, I'm so happy that you have found love again, and you're doing so great, and you're thriving. And I'm delighted that you are on the board of Soaring Spirits Lost Foundation, and everything just seems to be becoming increasingly powerful, and just a lot of great information. So thank you so much for sharing with us tonight, and I will look forward to having you back.
Thank you so much, and thanks for creating this terrific channel, and all the great content and connections that you put together are really, I know it's a really valuable part of helping people through. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. You have a great, great evening.
Okay, you too. Take care.
Hon. Bye-bye. Isn't she just like the best? Oh my goodness, I just love Robin so much. And everybody is saying, thank you, Robin. I saw Donita. I'm so thrilled that Donita has joined us. That is really, really, really great. Okay, I'm going to get Miss Carol Brody Fleet on the phone, and you guys know her well. She's been here many times. She's the founder of Widows Wear Stilettos, a nonprofit, and she does so much to give back, and she has been happy to be married once again and thriving. So we're going to hear if she has any information to add.
Hello, Robin.
Hello, sweet girl. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. Did you hear the beginning of the show?
Yes, I did. And good evening to everybody in the chat room and everybody that's listening that's not in the chat room.
Absolutely. And a lot of people will watch the archived shows as well. So, Carol, you were married for how many years before you became a widow?
Mike and I were married for 5.5 years, and but we'd known each other. Gosh, we got married. We'd known each other for 15 years. So by the time he passed away, we had been a huge part of one another's lives for our 20 years.
Okay, all righty. And then he died of Lou Gehrig, so you went through a lot with that,
That's correct.
and you were a widow for 9 years.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a long time. I'm 6 years out, and I mean it's a long time, and there are a lot of struggles and a lot of battles to fight on your own during that time period. Did
That's
you
right.
did you know that you wanted to remarry?
No, I absolutely did not want to remarry. I was not going to remarry. I was done. Not because I hated marriage, certainly, and not because I was afraid, but simply because I had really thought I'd gotten everything out of marriage I was going to get. I was at a time in my life where my daughter Kendall was in her teens. I had changed careers, changed homes, and things were really in a place that I was content. I was good, and that's of course about the time that life throws you a curveball. And I learned the difference between content and complete. And that
Okay.
certainly doesn't mean that it takes a man to complete you, because it doesn't.
Okay.
But it certainly has added a beautiful color and complexion to a life that I definitely was not looking for.
Okay. So it just kind of hit you. You meet Dave, and it's just like, was it like instant fireworks where you knew, or was it like, I like him, and then he kind of grew on you a little more?
Well, yeah, he grew on me. I'm going to tell you said that. He grew on me like mold. No, because when we met, we were both waiting for a table at a restaurant. And when we met, of course, he was just in the United States on business, very quick, in and out. And when someone, for me, if somebody lives in Sandy Charleston will get this. If somebody doesn't live in Orange County, if they live in Los Angeles County, I wasn't interested. That's a long distance relationship. Well,
Yes.
this guy is in England. So, we exchanged business cards, and I'm thinking, well, great. All the cute ones live in England. And I said, well, when I exchanged cards, I didn't think anything of it. And of course, at that point, I've been dating the loser brigade. And it was, I guess, about a month or so later that we exchanged some emails, just very pleasant and, no big deal. And about a month later, he called. And we had a marvelous telephone conversation. And I'm still, ruing the fact that he's 6,000 miles away.
I
And
know.
then a couple of weeks after that, and those of you in California will remember this, they had the wildfires. This was in 2007. And my daughter and I were evacuees. And I was supposed to be getting on a plane to go to New York to do run-up publicity for the first book. And, you see the fire coming towards your house, and you're standing there with your hose in one hand and a cat in the other hand, and Dave called, and he said, the news of the fire is coming over the BBC. I want you to go to New York, because what you are doing is important. I will check on Kendall. I will make sure everything is okay with the house. I will make sure that you are kept up to date the best I can. And all I can remember thinking, Robin, is no other man has ever come into my life, looked at me and said, I've got this. You don't have to worry. I've got this. Because, as you know, as most of us know, when you're strong, when you're independent, you're self-sufficient, everybody assumes that you don't need any help.
Yes.
When someone comes in and says, I'm going to take care of this, you go keep your head in the middle of your shoulders. That's when I
Yes.
thought, I don't know how this is going to work. I don't even know if it's going to work. But I got to pay attention to this guy.
Yes.
And it was 2 years after that I was standing up front, the big white dress, um, taking vows that are lasting longer than 2 years. I should.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, I personally believe that marriage should last longer than your car loan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm horrified to think that anybody is going to go down the aisle thinking, I give us 6 months and we've already got everything finalized before walking down the aisle if it blows up. I really don't get that.
Exactly.
Okay, so once you remarried, is anything different in your marriage, or do you react differently with this
Yes.
marriage?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, one of the biggest reasons that everything is different is that those of you who have heard me speak before have heard this. You're not the same person
Yes.
that you are before
Yes.
you were widowed. You
Yes.
can't go through and come out of that experience having not been transformed forever. It's not
No.
possible.
No.
So obviously you are actually taking a new dynamic of the person that you are into whatever relationships you have, married or not.
Yes.
So Dave didn't get the same Carol that Mike got, really. In some ways, Dave got a better Carol, and in some ways, I feel bad that he didn't get the same Carol. Um, because, again, what you go through, it does change you, and it does alter your feelings about life in the future, to the good and to the challenging. Um,
What do you think that you do noticeably that's different? For example, do you say I love you more this go around?
Definitely. I will say I love you at least once a day. And it's not just, oh, I haven't told Dave I love him. It's because I genuinely do. And as you know me pretty well, Robin, if I think something, it just comes right out my mouth. I don't have a filter. I don't have an edit button. I know that
Yes.
Shannon Bell's got to be laughing at me right now. It just comes out.
Yes.
And that's how I feel about him, genuinely. I don't sweat the small stuff. You know, if the underwear gets left on the floor, if the newspapers don't get picked up, you know what? Nothing's imploded. You learn what is really worth arguing about and worrying about. Um, and I still have somewhat of a challenge with a work-life balance because when you love what you do for work,
Yes.
it's really hard to learn when to walk away from it.
Yes.
But I am trying to establish that balance, and once in a while, you know, take the time to not be Carol Birdie Fleet or Widow's Wear Stilettos, but to be Dave Stansbury's wife.
Yes.
Sometimes
And you know
need to
what?
do that.
I appreciated when I talked to you this summer and you guys were taking a vacation and you said that exact phrase, I just need to go be Mrs. Stansbury for a moment. And I love
That's
that.
exactly what we did, girlfriend.
And it's so beautiful and it's so refreshing because we do get so caught up in our work and the things that are going on. But I would think that if you do remarry after being a widow, I think you would have such a greater appreciation, understanding that that quickly it could be taken away from you. And as a result, I would think you would be more appreciative and that you really wouldn't sweat the small stuff. You realize what's important and it's not underwear on the floor.
Exactly. I remember, and this is many years ago, Mike had just been diagnosed, and one of my girlfriends, who was actually a bridesmaid in our wedding, she was furious at her husband because he left the Sunday paper all over the house, and she wasn't going to speak to him that day. And all I thought was, are you serious? My husband's dying. I would give anything if he would dump newspapers all over the house.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I think people outside of the widowhood experience sometimes really have a peculiar idea of what is worth fighting about.
Yes.
I really do, and I think it's because that we have had a front row seat to loss in
Yes.
such a profound way. I remember Kendall related a similar story when she would listen to her friends complain about their parents, and she would get very upset because she said, you know, at least you have a dad to ground you.
Yes.
I'd give anything if my dad were here to ground me. Although, you know, that's pretty easy to say because he wasn't here.
Yes.
But
Yes.
she was reacting much the same way.
Yes, because when we lose something and we know we can't get it back, that's when we really appreciate it. So if you have the opportunity to find love again, then it seems like you would cherish it and you would treat it really well. Now, of course, our clock's ticking. What is your best advice for women who are tired of being alone but a little nervous about venturing out into the dating world again?
Okay, well, first of all, it's perfectly okay to be nervous. It's okay to be scared. Remember, the definition of courage doesn't mean don't be scared. The definition of courage is being scared and doing it anyway. Um, I get so many letters, Robin, as you know, and one of the biggest complaints that I get is, well, I went out on this date and he was a jerk, so I'm not dating again.
Yes.
Really, you guys? Really? One jerk and that's it for you? I know that it's very easy for everyone to look and say, "Oh, Carol, you're married to this great guy, and you're so lucky." And it's true, I am. But what you
Yes.
guys have forgotten is between the time I was widowed and meeting Mr. Wonderful,
Yes.
7 years.
Yes.
7 years, you guys, and that was 7 years of a lot of dating.
Yes.
And let me tell you what, I did meet a lot of wonderful men. Not everyone is a jerk, but I wasted a lot of time, energy, and makeup. And you all have seen my face. You know how much makeup it takes to be me.
That
Okay?
is so funny. And you know what? That's something to think about. I mean, it takes a lot of perfume and a lot of makeup and a lot of gas to keep meeting guys for a one-time date hoping for something better. I mean, it's kind of like a job in a sense. But on the other hand, I think that people have to remember you're in control of it. And
And
you
that's the wonderful thing is that are you going to let a jerk determine your destiny? No. So you kick the ground, and I'll tell you right now, you guys, I used to yell at Mike Fleet all the time after a bad day. I would come home and kick my shoes off and look at the ceiling and say, "Fleet, you did this to me." And
yes.
I have got some words for you when I get there. I mean, I would blame him. And
Yes.
that's normal too.
Yes. Well, and just by virtue of the fact that you've been through a relationship and it sucks to lose it and to be by yourself, I think that it makes you react differently and it makes you think I'm not gonna yell, I'm not gonna raise my voice. It really doesn't matter. But I think the overall thing that we've gathered tonight is to lose the fear. If you're lonely and you don't want to stay by yourself, just start small, go out to dinner, take your time. If you do it online, you have control over it. If you decide you don't want to go anywhere, just don't log on. You don't even have to look and see who's trying to talk to you.
Exactly. And, keep an open heart and an open mind. Don't speak in absolutes. It's easy to say he was the love of my life. Of course he was. Just like Mike was the love of my life. But that life ended for me on December 19th of 2000.
Yes.
Dave Stansberry is the love of my life now because this is a
Yes.
new life. And that is what I want to invite everybody to really think about, is that this is a new life.
Yes.
Who is going to be the love in your new life? You're always going to love your late husband, and that's okay. I want you to embrace that as a part of you. But who are you going to invite into your new life? Who's going to be the lucky person to get to spend their life and their time with the wonderful person that's you now, today?
Well, honey, I tell you, I love you to pieces, and I knew this hour was going to blow right by, and it certainly has. But thank you for sharing your story. Give Dave a big hug and a big kiss from me and everybody else watching the show. And I'm so happy and so proud for you, and I love you to pieces, and you'll be back on the show before long.
I will look forward to it. Don't forget to join us at Widows Wear Stilettos on Facebook.
Absolutely. Widows Wear Stilettos. It's a fabulous nonprofit. Check her out on Facebook, and she's got a lot of stuff going down. Thank you so much, honey. Love you to pieces.
Love you too, hon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh my gosh, there's so much more to talk about. I had like 150 questions that I wanted to ask, but the show just goes by so quickly. But we did learn a lot, and the bottom line is don't be afraid to venture out. Know that you are in control. Always take your car, meet somebody in a well-lit area where there's lots of people around, and if it doesn't work out, just get in your car and drive away. You stay in control and go out and have some fun, and maybe you'll be blessed like Robin and Carol and a host of other widows that we all know who have been able to find love again, and they're now happily married, and everybody seems to love a little harder, a little bit less critical, more tolerant, and much more appreciative, and that's a great place to be. Thank you for joining me. I hope you'll join me every Tuesday evening at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central here for Robin Craig Live. And go to robincraigdirect.com and just say, I want the Benitos. And the 10th person to email me, whether you're in the chat room or not, is going to win a case of Benitos. robincraigdirect.com. And call me if you're interested in going to the Miraval Retreat. I'd love to talk to you about it. Love you. Have a great week. And I'll stay in the chat room for a few minutes. Mwah. Good night.